It's recording now. Um, Welcome, everyone. We are doing a PS5 breakdown and basically any of the game reveals and thoughts that we had, what we liked, what we didn't like, which is pretty much everything. I'm joined by my two best friends, Nick and Michael. They are also the face of the Nerd Boys, but this is their first time, so please be generous with them.
Yes,
Go ahead and
sir.
introduce yourselves.
Yes, sir. So yeah, I'm Nick. Happy to be here. Happy to make my Nerd Boys debut.
I'm Michael. I don't have much to, to give on this one, but I'll do my best.
Yeah,
Yeah, a very niche gamer Michael is, as the audience will realize soon enough.
his palate is very small, so we're trying to break him open.
Yeah.
Remove the virginity from him and get him going. It's exciting.
Yeah.
So the first thing I wanted to talk about with you, I didn't get to see it live. I didn't take down notes. I know you took down some notes and you had some thoughts, so I just want to gather your opinion on what you thought about the PS5 and some of the games that were announced.
Yeah, so I thought that overall this event was very strongly done. I think that the thing that I think they did really well is that, and Jim Ryan, the CEO and the president of PlayStation, he said it right at the jump. He was like, we're going to let the games do the talking for us.
Which
And
I did like.
yeah, of this whole stream that was like an hour and 10 minutes long, give or take a few, like you maybe saw 2 or 3 minutes of that total runtime of like developers talking to us, and then the rest of it was just trailer, gameplay, gameplay. So I think that was really, really strong for the first wave. The first wave of PS5 games to be shown was for them to just show gameplay, because that's what we all kind of want to see, is how the games look, how they run, the vibe that they're going for, the themes that they're going for. So I think that was a very successful reveal event for the console.
I agree with that. I was able to see it in its entirety last night.
Mm-hmm.
The first 30 minutes, I was like, "Oh wow, this is fantastic! I'm all on
Yeah.
board for this." Then we hit the very strange, furry, and indie section, which some of those games were hit or miss for me, but there were a few that kind of they piqued my interest, but I have to see more of it to know if I want to spend between $40 and $60 on it.
For sure.
I do think that saving the reveal for the console itself at the end was probably the best thing.
Mm-hmm.
But for majority of it, I'm like, well, if they don't unveil it, I'll be sad and depressed. But at the same time, I think it worked out great that they did it that way.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think as a whole, they kind of nailed this conference. And, on YouTube, it literally just says PS5 games, the future of gaming. They really did let the games talk for themselves. So
Yeah. And like you said, I think that saving the reveal for the hardware at the end was very, very smart, because they kind of had hyped this thing up and led a lot of us to believe that we weren't going to see it yet. We weren't going to see what it looked like. It was just going to be the games. And I know that I was in that camp, and you too, and Michael, you could chime in a little bit, because I know you two were in the camp that you thought it was going to be shown, and I kind of disagree with you guys leading up to it. So
Yeah,
that was exciting for me, but you guys, it was probably even more exciting for.
Oh, no, go ahead. I apologize.
no, I was just gonna say because I was hoping that they would show the console, the price, and like a release date, at least a specific release date instead of just holiday 2020. But and especially for me, I was interested in Spidey right off the bat, and 2K21. But other than that, I'm not really interested in the other games. So I was literally just waiting to the end to see, maybe they'll show it, maybe they'll show it. So I was really happy to see it at the end.
Yeah, we're working on getting that gaming inside of you really, really big.
Yeah. We're working to expand your horizons. The games you like. So
the first thing I noticed last night when I was talking with Xavier and Basil, Basil was saying that obviously they showed GTA 5 for the PS5.
Yeah.
Supposed to be coming, I think, in the second half of 2021. It's also supposed to be like an enhanced remaster of like the original like 3 games that we've gotten over the course of PS3, PS4, and now PS5.
It's PS3.
Yeah, it came out 2013 on the PS3.
Yeah. Okay.
So this has been 7 years of just one consistent game, which it shows the market value that game holds with a lot of the fans.
Are they
Um,
making a GTA 6?
well, I know they have a development team working on the early goings of GTA 6, but they probably won't be ready with that for at least another 2 to 3 years. So just expect to have a lot of people playing GTA 5. Um, so apparently, I don't know if this holds any
Mhm.
truth, but Basil was saying that as of right now, it stands that this GTA 5 version will be exclusive to the PS5 until Rocksteady announces their own kind of like remaster for the other consoles and for PC. So it seems like it may just be minute to PlayStation. Even if that holds true, like that's a big grab for them because
Yeah.
this game makes millions of dollars off microtransactions alone. So
Yeah, and well, there's a couple of games that were in this conference too that they didn't say it during the live stream itself, but after the fact, they came out and said that these are like PS5 console exclusives, so not
yeah,
coming to Xbox Series X, at least as timed exclusivity. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's something with GTA 5. There's been no confirmation of any kind that it's coming to the next Xbox in this enhanced version yet either.
yeah.
So for now, that could definitely be true.
And another thing was that I liked was that they said that PS5 owners will get the GTA Online for free. So I'm always about getting stuff that I don't have to pay pocket for.
Cool.
Um,
Cool. I am we've already teased Michael a couple times so far in this video, but I am the only one of the three of us here that has not played Grand Theft Auto 5, so this is definitely a bigger deal for you two than it is for me, but still
yeah,
a very cool lead off to the event nonetheless.
yeah. So I was excited to see that. I kind of knew, like in the back of my head, like I didn't say it, but I always knew that GTA 5 would be coming to PS5. I just figured it would be like in conjunction with another GTA game, but that's just the
Mm.
stupid side of me because they haven't released a new GTA game since like 2011.
Mm.
So the next big thing that came right after that, which was the selling point and the big bonerification of us all, was Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Yeah.
I unfortunately had that spoiled for me while I was sitting at a bar. I saw a little bit of the swinging. I'm like, oh, Spider-Man 2. I'm all over this. And then
Mm.
I realized that it wasn't. So I want to hear both your thoughts on that before I get into my
Michael, you go ahead.
Yeah, you'll have much more detailed thoughts. I mean, well, for me, I didn't realize what it was when I just heard Peter's voice, but then like when it showed his mask, I was like oh shit, like it's that, it's Spidey. Um, and I thought there's just the detail. Like I saw a comparison of Miles in the Spider-Man PS4 game, and
Mm.
then him now, and it just looks, 100 times better. Like it looks incredible.
opinion.
And
And that blows my mind that just going from like one console to the next, like they've already made 10 times the improvement on basically what is a standalone game. Just imagine what the entire sequel will be like in terms of that quality.
Yeah.
And that
I
blows
think
my
it's
mind.
great. And my only like question, which I'm sure Nick has more thoughts on this, is that I just don't know like what the time frame of it is. It like directly after, or it looks like a few years I guess have passed. Um, and then if there's like a
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2, if that's gonna be like after this one, or I don't know.
So so Sony has done this a couple times in the past where they've done like a standalone expansion that's more than DLC but less than like a direct sequel. Like Infamous Second Son was a launch game for the PS4, or a launch window game for the PS4, and then they actually did expansion off of that game called Infamous First Light, which is where you played as one of the like main secondary characters of that game, and it was like a smaller expansion of the story, but it was its own standalone experience. Naughty Dog did that with Uncharted. After Uncharted 4, they made Uncharted Lost Legacy, where you played as Chloe, and Nadine partnered up with Chloe, and but it was a substantial game. It was like its own standalone 10-hour Uncharted game, so like half the size of a normal game, and it seems like that's what they're going for here. And I think that's a really cool idea. I think that this kind of gives Miles Morales as a character the chance to be the lead of his own game, which is cool because when Spider-Man 2 or whatever they end up calling it comes out, like Peter's most likely still going to be the main playable character. He's still going to be the main character of that story, most likely. So having a game where you could play as Miles and see his development, because my assumption is that in this game he's going to be like, this is maybe his first night out on the streets without Peter there to guide him. Maybe Peter's out of the country with Mary Jane because in this universe she works for the Daily Bugle, and or he's out of the city for some reason. So maybe this is Miles' first night as the protector of New York without Peter there to be his mentor, and this will be like his coming out party where he proves that he's more than just a sidekick. And it showed that too in the little bit of gameplay they showed where he looks a little rusty when he's swinging, and he looks a little rusty when he's fighting, and he looks scared when he's like on the ground in that pile of snow, and whoever that villain is with the purple light sword is coming up to him. So I think this is going to be a really cool like launch experience for Sony with a really quick turnaround time of 2 years between Spider-Man and this.
And I do get a lot of like Into the Spider-Verse vibes where like, you know, he's still figuring out how to get it done. Like maybe he's not confident with his powers, and, you know, he wants to ask Peter for help, but he knows that this is a situation where he has to kind of bunker down and get it done by himself. Yeah, I agree with you. For a launch exclusive, especially like with console, like it's an impressive like feat to achieve, especially like right after the first one. And to show like, I mean, it's just the graphics itself speak for it. Like it's literally like at least 2 years, and it looks 10 times better than what we got in the first one. And the first one was spectacular, so I can't even complain about that.
Yeah, and it looks like probably a big reason why they were able to make such a quick turnaround time on this game is that it looks like they're going to reuse probably the same map, a lot of the same assets that they had in Spider-Man 1. They're going to, obviously it's snowing now, so this is probably going to take place in the holiday time, which Spider-Man 1, correct me if I'm wrong, but at least some of it took place in the winter. I recall there being some bits, and I don't want to say like story beats in case people haven't played it, but I do recall that at one point the game did shift and there was snow and stuff like that. I think
I do think you're right. I do think you're right about that.
I don't want to say exactly when that is in case people haven't played it, but I think that is what happened. So you'd have to assume that this is.
Yeah, if you haven't played it, oops. I won't say that one.
Yeah. Leave that. But you have to assume this takes place at least a year after the first game at that point. So definitely some, Miles has a suit now, and he knows what he's doing at least to some degree. So they've been out on the streets training for a while. So.
Because I know you haven't played the DLC, Michael, but I recently played through it to kind of get like through and understand what happens after the story. And I know Nick has played it. Basically, like in the last DLC, like it shows like Peter with Miles, like kind of training him, and like it looks like they're gonna go for his first swing and kind of show him the ropes of what it means to be Spider-Man. So I'm kind of curious exactly how far along this is. I would say at least a year. Like this has to be at least a year.
You think
of training, and maybe Peter goes off with MJ to help Silver Sable's country, because I know they mentioned in the DLC that our country is at war with rebels and stuff. So if that's the case, I'm fine with that. And also like I did like Miles in Spider-Man, and he obviously didn't come across as a lead then, but like having his own game now, really it gives him an opportunity to have more of a character. And obviously like you can't say more of a character when granted he has some issues in that game, but I think this is a good step forward with Spider-Man and its characters. And I know a lot of people are kind of against having Miles Morales as a Spider-Man like alone by himself, but I think having it be a game with its own like style and story, it makes it much more engaging than just having two Spider-Mans together at the same time. So, I mean, we'll see where it goes with that. I also did see that I think Marvel or Insomniac tweeted today that this game would be like a new story in the Spider-Man saga. So I'm kind of interested to see like how this universe continues to build, because they've set up a lot of interesting pieces, and with Miles now, I think the way forward with Spider-Man is going to be a good one. So I'm excited for that.
Michael, you were going to ask a question a minute ago?
I was going to say, do you guys think Peter's going to be in the game at all, or is it just going to be...
I would wager that his presence might be similar to like what Iron Man's was in like Spider-Man Homecoming, but I would say a little bit less. Maybe a few phone calls, video chats. Maybe if he gets into some deep trouble, he appears. But I would mainly say maybe at the beginning and at the very end, like if this is like setting up for Spider-Man 2 or whatever that will be called, I do think Peter has to have some presence.
I think it'd be cool to maybe have Peter. I think it'd be cool to have Peter in the game maybe for the first mission or two, where like you're playing as Miles, but like Peter is there with you during the mission, so like he's like an AI companion that you're teaming up with, just to get a little bit of where their relationship is at the start of this game. But then, I would hope that at least 80% of this game, however long that ends up being, is just Miles with no Peter. Maybe he just shows up again at the very end after Miles beats the final boss, whoever that main villain ends up being for this game. Because I think it's important that Miles gets his own game like this, to get his own narrative and his own experience. Because I don't think you'll get that. I don't think you'll have another chance for that for however many games Insomniac makes.
Yeah.
For this franchise, because Peter's going to be in every single game. He is still going to be like the main playable character, or at least split the time 50-50. So I think this is the only chance that Miles is really going to have to be the lead playable character. So.
Yeah, and I do like that it, like, almost right at the jump of the trailer, like you can tell that once they show him swinging and fighting with the music they set and his own logo at the very end, like they have a very distinct style in mind for this game and for his character. So like if people are like, well, he's just like a ripoff of Peter, but his skin color is different. I mean, if that's all you see, that can't help you there, because it's evident in the trailer alone that they're trying to tell a unique story with him.
Very distinct.
If it's the same model game that we had before.
Yeah.
So that's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for that one. Great launch exclusive. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know what exactly came next after Spider-Man. So
well, I have my notepad here.
Yeah, I was just, if you pull out that wad of notes, we could go from there.
I took some notes because I was excited for us to sit down and talk about this.
Okay.
It's the first time we've done something like this, so I was excited. So then they showed Gran Turismo 7, which was cool.
Ooh, that is a
graphic
big game.
Yeah, graphics looked really, really good for that, and Gran Turismo is like a cash cow for Sony in terms of like their exclusive. That game sells millions and millions of copies with every iteration that comes out. Every entry in the franchise sells so much money, or sells so many copies, makes so much money. So
it shocked me that was like the next game that they showed, because I can't recall the last. I know we had one on the PS4, but I don't know what year it came out. But I know for like so many years that Forza on Xbox has dominated like the racing simulator, and Sony has had a bunch of like different games come out, like Project Cars, Drive Club, and some of those were hit or miss. Like I played Drive Club, I didn't think it could hold a torch to what Gran Turismo and Forza could do. What they could do, but I'm excited nonetheless, because I think with a new console, new engine, the game has the potential to rival those other big racing games.
And they said in there that it's going to have a campaign. So
that's good.
This is sports-ish, so maybe we can get Michael into the Gran Turismo train. We can
buy him a little steering wheel and foot pedal.
Sport, yeah. Buy him a little Wii wheel attachment. He can play Gran Turismo with us online. So
we're to Mario Kart, so maybe I'll give it a try.
I think it's a little different than Mario Kart, but
just a little more shifting and steering involved.
I used to have like the Need for Speed games, and I was good at those.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're pro then? You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Just
he'll carry us online in Gran Turismo 7.
I mean, it's about time I could get him off my back with all the slugging around I do with his baggage.
So then they showed Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart,
which I know you said was your biggest game of the event.
So I watched it live, and I was just really excited about Spider-Man, mainly for more than anything because I didn't think that we were going to get a Spider-Man game of any kind so soon. So that was really why I was excited. But after going back and watching all the trailers again, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart has kind of jumped up to like my most like not my most anticipated game, but the biggest like surprise for me from this whole event. Even
I know. Like after seeing it, like I played the one that they came out with a few years ago, and like even though it is a like a remaster slash like reboot,
yeah,
this one you could the seamlessness of like transitions between levels and the teleportation technique and the weapons and just the visuals alone, like it's definitely on my most like anticipated to watch for.
that right there is stuff, because they showed it in the trailer. They showed it first, and then when they had a pretty lengthy gameplay demo for that. That was probably the longest demo they had. It was like 4 minutes long, of just like on a couple cuts, but
It
pretty
looked
uninterrupted
legitimately bananas the entire way
gameplay.
through.
That's what Ratchet and Clank is. Ratchet and Clank: Crack in Time on PS3 is like one of my favorite games of all time. Maybe in my top 10 list. I love the series, so that's why I was so excited to see that there was a new Ratchet and Clank game. At all. I was very excited to see it, but that's some stuff right there, like how Ratchet was pulling himself through portals to like warp to different dimensions during the gameplay. Like that's some stuff that you can't do on PS4 that seamlessly, and that was like a big power play to show like, yeah, here's some stuff that next gen can do that current gen can do, but not this seamlessly and smoothly.
It can do it, or it can try to do it, but you'll be having a jet engine in your room for like the next 40 minutes.
Yeah, that's true too.
So that's not something I would want to attempt on my PlayStation.
Yeah, and Ratchet and Clank is just like, it's just bananas combat, just so many unique different weapons, which looks like they kept. There was one weapon in there where Ratchet turned a guy into a plant, like
I did see that
at one point, which was cool, and it looked this game graphically looked like Pixar came in and like the graphics for this game really pretty looking
little designs.
Yeah.
It does look good. So last night I was a little split on it, but after seeing the trailer again, I'm kind of like, well, that definitely looks like a game that in my downtime I'll definitely play the absolute shit out of. So
I'm very excited for that, and I think that it's cool that they came out swinging with the three games they showed. Technically the first four games, because I'll talk about the fourth game they showed in a second, but the first four games they showed are all PS5 exclusive games.
Yep.
And I really thought it was another power move by them, kind of.
No, it's from the get-go, like when they said like, oh, we'll let the games do the talking, like like it's just a swing at Xbox saying like, yeah, you can take your fancy tech and just shove it, like what you have, like you can't offer with what we got. So
yeah, and Xbox will definitely have their turn, but I think Sony was confident in that they had a really strong showing, so they were confident to go before Microsoft had their big first party kind of reveal. Obviously, they were confident for good reason, but I think it was a nice move by Sony to show like, hey, we just purchased Insomniac outright last year, and two of the first three games we're showing are Insomniac games
that blew my mind.
That are coming out within a year of the console coming out, maybe even half a year. Like, here's two big Insomniac exclusives right after we purchased them outright to like come into the first party fold. So
Insomniac is turning themselves quickly. Like, I know they have been, people would consider them like a strong company, that makes pretty quality games. But after Spider-Man and like Ratchet and Clank, and now like having both those two games come out on PS5, like within the first year of its launch, like they're definitely turning themselves into a really big name. And I'm excited for them because they've always done pretty quality work, and it's starting to show for it. So whatever they do next, I'm on board.
Yeah, and then a couple games they showed back to back. Then they showed a couple more like big PlayStation exclusives, and they got into like the indie portion in the middle that you were talking about. So they showed that game Project Athia. I'm not sure how to.
I saw that.
It's a new Square Enix franchise. It looked a lot like Final Fantasy-esque, which was cool, and it said right on there, exclusive for PlayStation 5. So they even got developers like Square Enix coming out and just making console exclusive games for them. It's also coming to PC, I saw in a press release afterwards, but cool that it's a console exclusive for PlayStation. They didn't show much, but definitely something to keep an eye on.
I know the vibe Xavier mentioned last night, where like it felt very Final Fantasy. It also had like little touches of like kind of like Dark Souls, like Neo, kind of like that aggressive combat. So,
It looked very high fantasy.
yeah, so I'm interested to see that more of it at least because it was like I think what 30 seconds to like 45 seconds. So, yeah, so we'll see with that.
And
one.
then they showed Stray from Annapurna Interactive, which was that indie game where it looks like you're playing a cat in a city full of robots.
So with that one, I was kind of intrigued. While it was playing on my laptop kind of exploded. So I missed like a whole minute of it. And when I got back to it, it just showed me Stray. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I saw a cat and then the title. I guess I should be interested in this.
Yeah, they didn't show too much gameplay for that. They didn't show any gameplay at all for that, but it looks like a cool concept. Annapurna Interactive is a pretty high level indie developer, so it was cool. That's something we'll have to find more about. They showed off Returnal next, which is that new franchise. It looked interesting. They said it's a new franchise exclusive to PlayStation 5 by Housemarque, who has made a lot of PlayStation exclusive games in the past, like Dead Nation and Alien Nation. A lot of those top-down twin stick shooters. Looks cool. Again, they showed very little gameplay, mostly just a trailer, but it's a third-person shooter, which we know that Sony is very good at making third-person action games. It looks diverse for their offerings to have something like an outer space that's very like sci-fi-esque.
It also looked very like kind of horror survival like genre. So I mean the first thing I noticed is like the face design of the character. Like I can't rave enough about the graphics of any of these games because they're better than anything I've had on my PS4 for the last 5 years. So, it looks good. It definitely has some interesting mechanics behind it. The story seemed kind of interesting, but that's another one to watch.
Michael, I don't know if you watched any of these trailers in particular, but I just don't want to go too long without at least
hearing from your sweet voice.
Yeah, within if you have anything to say, but I know that these aren't really your types of games. So
yeah, no, I wasn't very interested in them, but the graphics did look incredible.
Okay, all right.
It's not my type of game. Yeah.
It's just not him. What it do?
Then they showed Sackboy: A Big Adventure, which was cool.
Yes.
That game just has a lot of charm, and it was cool to see.
It looks very sweet.
Looks very sweet. Little Big Planet's a fun franchise. I don't know if you guys ever played Little Big Planet.
I've played the second and third one.
Yeah. So, Michael, I know you at least know what Little Big Planet is because we talked about it yesterday.
It looks like they took the essence of Michael's soul and put into that little sack man and made a game around his life.
Just so cute and
just
sweet.
Something sweet, adorable. Something you don't want to hurt, but at the same time you want to hurt very hard. It's one of those things. I don't know, but
it was cool to see Little Big Planet make a return, and it looked the way that I saw some people describe it, and I thought that was a pretty good description. It looks like it's Sony's attempt to have their own like Super Mario 3D World type of family-friendly like 3D action platformer, which is cool.
Yeah, that's a good, especially for like little kids, like especially like families that have kids, like families have kids. So yeah, so you want to have like something you can play together. And I know like the first two they were what 2-player co-op. Now
all of them are 4.
They're all 4. Okay, so
yeah,
it's a nice little game to have for everyone.
So, Michael, we're gonna get you in on Sackboy's Big Adventure.
Oh yeah, baby.
Play your game. We're gonna get you through it.
I'm not. You can sit there and ride on one of our backs just for the fun.
There you go. The best in Little Big Planet, you could mess with people. I don't know if they're gonna have it in this game, but in the 2D Little Big Planet games, you could grab onto other characters and like drag them along with you to screw with them. So if anything, we'll grab onto you and we'll just guide you through the levels, and you don't have to do a thing. You'll just be there for the journey. Be there for
another thing I was a big fan of was like if you needed to respawn, I think you could make yourself explode by just holding your breath. So I thought I always thought that was a pretty funny mechanic. I'd sit there for 5 minutes laughing.
Yeah. So cool to see Little Big Planet make a return. It's got a lot of charm, that franchise. So cool to see it back. And then we kind of went into a few indies in a row, which we'll get through quickly because out of the three of us, obviously we've talked about Michael's gaming habits, but Matt, you are not a very indie gamer.
Yeah, I don't play a lot of indie games. I don't know if it's because like maybe they just don't entice me the way like a AAA game would. But
Yeah.
there have been a few that I've purchased and I've enjoyed, but I don't have I since I play so much multiplayer, like I don't have a lot of time to get through a
Mm,
single player game, especially like one that's an indie game where I kind of have to be really interested in and
yeah.
want to play it. So
Yeah.
I mean,
You
there probably are a few that you will name that I'll be kind of like looking out for, but as of right now, yeah, that's how
yeah.
I see the difference between the two games.
Yeah, I'm definitely more of a indie gamer than you are. I kind of pick and choose games from all over the spectrum, whether it's smaller indies or bigger AAA or online. So I could speak a little more to some of these games, but we won't spend too much time on them. Uh,
Which out of the three, which one really kind of like entice you the most?
yes, I thought the couple of indies that really got me was that Destruction All Stars, which is that
Okay,
like vehicular combat game.
that one looked really
It looks
awesome.
it looks fun. It
And
looks
I think that's a game that Mikey would even play because like it just looks like absolute chaos. Like you'll pummel your friends for a good hour, you know, drive
so
around, blow
basically,
up shit. It
yeah.
looked cool.
So basically, what this game is, it looks very Rocket League esque, but instead of a soccer style game where you're playing soccer in cars, it looks like a destruction derby where you're trying to destroy other vehicles. But the cool twist that it kind of showed in the trailer, and this is what really sold me because I wasn't really into it for the first 30 seconds, is that after your car gets destroyed or when it's about to get destroyed, you as the character can bail out and then you're on foot and then it's like a melee game where you have to fight other characters on foot to reclaim other vehicles or steal vehicles back from other people or or destroy vehicles while you're on foot. So you've got all this vehicular combat going on around you while you're on foot. You've got to avoid cars, avoid other people. So that twist on it really kind of grabbed
It
my
definitely felt
interest.
like they took Rocket League and GTA and kind of like a fighting game and just threw it into one like
Yeah,
mishap and like, oh well, this works, hit send. And
yeah.
I mean it did look really cool. Like you can fight on foot, you can use your vehicles to destroy. I mean, I was sitting there thinking with Xavier, I'm like, just imagine you're running to get a new vehicle, you get splattered by a truck. Like, what's more exciting than that, you know? So
So that right there, Michael, is a game. All joking aside, that I think you might be into, just to have some fun with the boys.
yeah.
It seems like a cool concept actually.
Did you see? Did you see the trailer for it?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
But
so okay. What did you think? What did you think?
no, I just thought it looked again. It looks interesting. I don't know if I would buy it unless like you guys got it first and then you told
Yeah.
me.
Mhm.
It would have to be something that would throw like itself at you. Where like, okay, I'll be willing to spend money on that.
Especially since it's like the first, like it's not an established franchise or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Is that a launch exclusive or is that
It,
kind of in the
it
back half?
it's not a launch exclusive, but it is a PS5 exclusive.
Ooh,
But
very good.
they just said
That's
2021,
that's
so
interesting.
that's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool. Everything, every single game that we've listed so far, except with the exception of Stray, I think, is a PS5 exclusive so far.
Okay.
Everything we've talked about.
So basically, what we have is like a bunch of exclusives, or at least for the time being, timed exclusives. So
Yeah.
yeah, that works.
They showed that game Kenna Bridge of Spirits. That was another indie game that
That one looked. That one actually like I sat there for a good few minutes and I was like, I'd actually be down to play that. It looks like lighthearted fun.
it looks, yeah, it does. And it looks like PlayStation's attempt to, I don't know if you guys ever played this game. It was on the GameCube, so you guys would have had to have a GameCube, but Pikmin 2, like it looks like
Yeah.
Sony's kind of attempt at that with like those little black creatures, which I saw in a press release. They're called the Rot, is what they're called.
Okay.
You can kind of direct them to do some actions and some fighting for you, but then it's like an evolution of Pikmin almost, where you as the character, I'm assuming her name is Kina because that's in
Yeah.
the name of the
No,
game.
that's
So,
just the invisible
yeah,
character we don't know
yeah.
yet.
So you as Kina can also fight, and she had like a bow that had like light arrows that she was generating arrows to shoot from, and she was using the bow as a staff as well. So that looked like a high level indie game that looked pretty interesting.
And I'm really excited to see how that like how those gameplay mechanics work with the new controller, because like I know the PS5 controllers are coming with adaptive triggers,
Yeah.
and it's you'll feel like the pulling and the tugging of like the bow, like every time it gets tighter, like the controller grip gets tighter. So I think a lot of these games are going to be really exciting to play with that feature.
Which that feature we'll definitely get into when we talk about Horizon Forbidden West.
Oh
We'll
yeah,
get there,
oh
so.
yeah, baby.
Uh,
That looks like a good one.
and then just to not leave anything out, these are games that I don't think really spoke to any of us, but I think every game that was there deserves to get a quick shout out.
Of course.
Goodbye Volcano High was like that really
It looked very anime.
very anime art style, like a cartoon.
I'm almost certain they've reached into Christian's brain and just pulled it out.
Yeah,
Like, oh, let's make a game with that.
Definitely. So that game, I don't think spoke to any of us, but look, the art style really stood out. So
Okay.
it's like a narrative choice-based game. Oddworld Soulstorm was what they showed next. That game with those green creatures. I don't know what they're called. This is like the second or third game in this Oddworld series. So
Okay.
I'm not informed enough on the franchise to talk about it, but it looked cool.
No clue.
It was like a 2.5D platformer, so it looked cool. Ghostwire Tokyo is that game from Bethesda. They
So
showed
that
yeah.
that's an interesting one, because like Bethesda and I have a very hit or miss track record, more miss than hit. I don't know if I don't blame the company. I'm just not like, I don't know if it's I personally am probably in the minority that truly didn't love Skyrim, but then again, my attention span was held to like 5 to 10 minutes per day, so it could just be my brain. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things I have to revisit and see. I know
Yeah.
Bethesda as a whole company, like they've made some really good games. When you exclude like Fallout 76 or like how people feel about Fallout 4, just depending.
Yeah.
Even Elder Scrolls Online, like it's weird. Like Skyrim, I didn't truly love, but like going back and playing ESO Online, like I really had a good time with that. I find it to be really fun. It's just one of those games. I don't know. It's just me. It's just me. That's what it is.
It looked like a cool first-person action game, a cool supernatural twist. The one thing that I did want to talk about for this game more than anything is that this is a Bethesda game, like you just talked about, and they put out in a press release that it is a PS5 console exclusive.
Oh wow, that's actually really big.
It's not coming to Series X, at least for
the time being.
Time exclusivity. It is coming to PC, but for console, it's only coming to PS5, which I thought was shocking that they got a Bethesda game, like just for their console. So
and one of the other things was like the graphics didn't seem to be like too showy on like the PS5 like aspect. It looked very like if I played on my PS4 Pro and played on the PS5, I probably wouldn't notice too much of a jump, minus maybe smoothness of gameplay. But the one thing I thought, and even Xavier mentioned to me, he was saying that if this was a VR game, it would probably be 1,000 times cooler, because it seemed very first person heavy, where you just see hands and you're fighting in first person, you're doing a lot of cool shit in first person. So just imagine you're getting your shit scared in your own eyes, and everyone's like, oh, this guy's having a panic attack. What's going on with him?
So Michael, did you see that trailer? Did you care at all for that?
That was one I didn't see. Like I just
he fast forwarded. He said, "No, thank you. Next."
Well, listen, we got 2K coming up in a couple games, and we're gonna let Michael have the solo floor for that one.
The floor is his on that one.
The floor is on that one, completely yours. So we'll get there. Then they showed Jet: The Far Shore, which is that indie like ship exploration looking game.
Looked cool.
Looked cool. Didn't really speak to me, but just wanted to give it a shout out because there's definitely an audience.
It's like you said, every like company that had a game in this event, they are all worth mentioning, because it does take a lot of time and hard work to get this out and get people on board to want to see it. So they all deserve it. Everyone has their own unique art style, their own unique story to tell. So even if I'm not playing it, I'm eager to see what people think of it, because that's the most important thing.
There's an audience for every game out there. So Jet: The Far Shore was like a spaceship exploration looking game. So,
and who knows, it may even be Michael's cup of tea.
Maybe
the verdict's still out on that one.
So if that interests anyone who's watching and listening, then then there you go. Look up Jet the Far Shore. Then they showed Solar Ash,
Mm-hmm.
which was another indie-looking game that the design and the aesthetic of it looked really cool, but they barely showed anything. So that's something that I think we don't really have much to say until we see more of what it's
That's just
actually
more of
be.
a wait and see kind of situation.
Yeah. So, but that did look interesting, like the aesthetic and the design of it. Then they showed that game Godfall, which
That looks quite interesting.
it looks like a lot of dumb fun,
Yes,
like just dumb,
it's
cool,
a lot of mindless
fun.
action.
Mindless action.
I think it's actually from the people that made Borderlands, right?
It's from Gearbox, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So
Oh,
that's
look,
one of those games where it's you kind of just gotta play it and see.
Yeah.
So do we have a special guest? Who is this?
Mark.
Hi, Marcus.
Mark Ellenbogen, the oldest Ellenbogen brother.
One of the better ones, because this one here, it's got some issues.
Mark, do you have anything to say about the PS5 reveal event?
No.
All right, see you. All right, well, Mark, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you later.
How will Madden look? That's about all I care about.
Oh, well, I hope it looks fantastic. That's the one thing I need to know.
Mark, thanks for stopping by. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, we gotta get Oakley and Rookley and Lauren and the whole gang to make an appearance here.
Maybe you edit out Mark's appearance. Maybe you don't. Whatever you decide to do. So
we'll keep it in there. Maybe he brings in the viewership or some of the few ex-honeys that he's had in his life that I know. So we'll see how that goes.
So Godfall looked cool. That's a PS5 console exclusive that they've described as like, I've seen people describe it as like a Division or Destiny type game, like games as a service, but with swords instead of guns. So cool. 3-player, drop in, drop out. That's interesting.
I remember it being announced as a PS5 game or just a next gen console game a few months ago, and I think they had like a small teaser for it, and it did look different then than it does now. It seemed more like a very gritty kind of real-ish approach to like a fighting game maybe.
Yeah.
But this one looks like it's mindless action, and it definitely gave me some Division and Destiny 2 kind of feel. So I have fun with those games most times, so it's just one of those things. If there's people to play with, I'm there for it.
Yeah, definitely. Michael, Godfall will be something that we might try to get you on as well. It's three-player sword combat. We got a 3-man squad right here. So maybe we'll get
all you gotta do is just aim.
Mash that square button. Mash that square button.
You're good at it.
Yeah,
I've been the brunt of that torture a few times from you.
All right. Well, we got a couple more games here before we get to 2K, and I want Michael to have the floor for a couple minutes to talk about what he's excited for 2K. So then they showed Hitman 3, which was cool.
I'm interested in that.
They showed a cool trailer for it, but not really much gameplay, and that's probably going to be a game that Warner Brothers shows off at their own event at some point in the future. So
Hitman 1 and 2, like I know they're pretty good games. They're if you're if you like killing people and having fun and cool ways to do it, I guess that's your cup of tea. I played the first one when they made it free for PS Plus subscribers. It's fun. Like, don't get me wrong, it is fun, but it's not a game that I see myself playing hours upon hours, trying to get through. I think it's the setting this time is in Dubai, so
one of the settings, that's what they showed off.
That should actually be really cool. Maybe you have to do some cool things on the Burj.
Yeah, Burj. A couple things that I think are worth saying about Hitman before we move on is that one, they said at the end of that trailer that it's coming January 2021, which was cool to see that it's a game that doesn't have like holiday 2020 or just 21 is a very vague window. Like we got it. This is like the only game here that we got a specific like here's the month it's coming out.
Like we know month and year. So
yeah. And then I did see in a press release afterwards that somehow, some way, if you buy Hitman 3, you're going to have access to a bunch of the level packs from Hitman 1 and Hitman 2 included.
Oh, wow.
So that's cool. I have no Hitman 1 or 2, so very...
They do have some... I know one of the packs on, like, Hitman 2, I think it was, there's a target you have to assassinate on a yacht, but he's completely surrounded by guards, so... That's actually pretty interesting to see. It gives more
Yeah.
variety to the game, and I'd imagine it's probably like at least enhanced versions of those original packs, or maybe remasters like one and
For sure.
two.
For sure. Then they showed off Astro's Playroom, which just looks
That
like
looked
a
cool.
3D platformer. The cool thing about that is that they said it's coming installed in every PlayStation 5. So it's
Oh
coming
wow.
console, which I think the last time we've ever gotten a console that did that was the Wii with Wii Sports. So that's cool.
That actually looked pretty interesting.
Oh
I'd give
wow.
it
There you go. It's like we said. There's a market for every gamer.
Yeah. All right, Michael, tell us what you thought about Astro's Playroom. I want to hear your voice. We haven't heard your voice in a few
What really stood out to you?
Well, at first I thought it was like Eve from Wally. Like that's
Oh,
what
yeah.
It does look, yeah. He does look like her.
I thought it was just gonna be like something for the controller for the like I thought it was just for PlayStation. I didn't think it was I didn't think it was an actual game. I just thought it was one of the little things in between the
Like a tech demo sort of thing.
yeah. And then then I realized like that it was actually like a little I don't know, is it like a mini game? Like
It's probably going to be a very short like experience that you could probably beat in like 2 or 3 hours, but
Yeah, that's what I agree.
it gave me like a Wii Sport type of vibe, and I really
yeah, to get to know the system and the controller, because the DualSense controller is going to have a bunch of haptic feedback and adaptive triggers, so it's probably going to be a way to learn the controller.
It's a really nice way to give training wheels to people that aren't excessive gamers, basically. Especially
then, yeah, definitely. And then a couple more indies they showed before 2K. They showed Little Devil Inside, which
I don't think I saw that one.
okay, so to me that was like the indie game of the show.
Okay.
It's got a very cool art style. It looks like a low budget game, but with very big ideas and very big aspirations, which excites me.
Okay.
It looks like an indie game. It's a 3D action game. Oh, we have another visitor.
Who's this?
Hi.
It's the
Hello.
Floor. Hello. And these timed exclusives with the people are really going on. They're going great for this channel.
I know. Michael Clear did not warn people that he was going to be recording something.
Michael forgot to send out the memo to his 5 siblings that he needed someone for the evening.
They don't even knock.
They don't even knock. Well, they can't all be like Michael,
Hey, at least they're they're catching you doing this and not something else. If you catch my drift.
Okay. Anyway, so then Little Devil Inside was cool. It showed a lot of different like gameplay mechanics, so that's something definitely to check out. And then they showed that game Bug Snacks, which was cute, but a little odd, a little quirky.
I said it almost immediately. I'm like, why am I watching a game about fucking strawberries? What is this? I'm very perplexed as what's happening.
Quirky and odd. Definitely not a game for any of us, I don't think, but
no.
Definitely shows that Sony's trying to diversify their offerings that they have.
I have no complaints with.
Yeah, always a good thing. So, they didn't show any gameplay, but for anyone who's interested, check out Bug Snacks. It looks like a cute little platformer about animals that are fruit. So
I think Ryan might be into that. He was obsessed with Tunic when they announced it a few years ago. Yeah. So I think this is more his speed.
Michael,
yeah.
I now want you to take the floor. Just take as long or as short as you want. They didn't show anything about 2K21, really. But just talk about you are the one out of the three of us that gets 2K every single year. So just talk about what you're excited for out of 2K.
Just, from that little segment alone. From that little segment alone, like
what are some things
what you like that
see?
they showed? Obviously the graphics are one thing. So
so they literally just showed Zion Williamson like close up dribbling, like close up on his face, which the graphics look incredible. Like
I felt like I was sweating watching him sweat. It was intense.
And then they just showed him dunk real quick in like slow motion. So I wish they showed actual gameplay or like in an actual game like that. It was like a dark practice.
It was so what I saw at the bottom, it said that it was like pre-alpha footage. So it's obviously still a kind of ways away in terms of development, but I agree with you. Continue.
But if that's any indication of the graphics within the game, it's great for me.
It's immaculate.
I know people think it's like the same thing every year, which it kind of is, but if the graphics look that much better, I think that's exciting. And
I think
I honestly wanted to see some gameplay just because my biggest complaint is that like in recent years they've made it almost too realistic. Like everything is just kind of slow motion and even just the presentation style. Like I know Nick always gets annoyed that they like cut to the announcer talking or the halftime report, but we just want to play the game. Like,
yeah.
so I wish they kind of showed things that there were more the actual game than just the graphic of it. But I'm still very excited to see the vast improvement in the graphics.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
Very good. All right. Thank you,
There's
our resident
for the
sport
hour.
gaming expert.
But I was disappointed that I was the only sporting, no Madden, MLB, and
Well, Sony is the only one that gets to make MLB with the show, so you'll see that at some point.
You might even see it basically the next week. I don't know.
You'll see
Those games pump out more than anything I've ever seen in my entire life.
So then we have 5 more games to wrap it up. They show the Demon's Souls remake, which
looks interesting. I've never played the original, so
neither have I. Definitely something that I will pick up when the remake comes out because it just looks graphically insane.
I know Basil said that it's basically like built from the ground up, like remake. Like it's not like improving, it's not like remastering, it's like a full-on remake, like enhancing everything you love about the old game and just making it 10 times better in this one. So
well, Blue Point is the studio that's making this remake. They're the ones that did the Nathan Drake collection and the Shadow of the Colossus remake.
And the Uncharted one was really good.
Uncharted one was great. Uncharted is my favorite series of all time.
Yeah,
so eventually, as this channel goes on, I'm sure I will bring up Uncharted many times as a high watermark for gaming. But Shadow of the Colossus is known to have, by a lot of people, that doesn't have the best control scheme from back in the day when it was released on the PS2. And one thing they definitely did, because I played the Shadow of the Colossus remake on PS4, is the graphics. The graphics were great, but the control scheme was very intuitive and very natural to what like a current gen game is in terms of the jump button and the attack button and the hold button and interact button. So I think that this Demon Souls remake will definitely be more player friendly in terms of less janky, better control scheme. So definitely something to check out. Then they showed off Deathloop, that game from Bethesda, where you're playing as an assassin. Time loop.
That one did feel very Dishonored and Thief very aesthetic.
Yeah. So a couple of things about this that I think are worth talking about is that again, this one is another Bethesda game that they also said is a console exclusive to PS5.
Oh, this is exclusive too? Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's shocking.
Yeah.
Two Bethesda games are exclusive.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And they released a little more information. Michael, did you see this trailer for Deathloop? You did? Okay. So they released a little more information about this game where the way that the blog post made it seem is that the trailer said how this guy that you're playing as, his name is Colt, I think is the name of the player character. To get out of the time loop that you're in, you have to kill all 8 of like the bosses in the game before the day is over. And so I could be wrong, and we'll find out more about this eventually, but the description of the game in the blog post made it seem like you're on a timer, and when the timer runs out, you start the whole day over, but keeping the information that you learned from that session to continually advance quicker every time the day starts over until you beat the game by beating all 8 bosses in one session.
Oh wow, that's
cool.
That's quite a gameplay difference.
So it's very unique, and the reason I asked you, Michael, if you played this is because this is a game that I'm really going to try to push you to get, because there's a second character, that female assassin that was in the trailer, that right at the end of the trailer, it shows you playing as her. And they said that in the game, you are playing as the guy, his name is Colt, but you could toggle on options to have other people join your game and play as her and try to hunt you down while you are doing what you need to do.
Wow, that's actually really cool.
What I would love is for you to get this game and for me to drop into your game and I can just hound you relentlessly is really what I would love more than anything else.
That sounds like the best time I've ever had.
Yeah.
would enjoy that very much.
But Michael, so if this is a trailer that you did see, what did you think about Deathloop? Did it speak to you at all?
It just reminded me of that Arrow episode actually in the last season where he
Yeah, it was on the loop over and over. Yeah.
uh,
Okay. Yeah, that's what the story is going to be. So we'll see. But a lot of these story-based games are going to be games that for Michael to play, he's going to have to see us play them first, and we're really going to have to sell him on it. So
It's going to come more from our marketing than any of the company's marketing. So
yeah.
then that's easy for me to do with Michael. I think I could sell him anything.
Definitely. So then they showed Resident Evil Village.
That was a big like, I wouldn't say shocker, but like it definitely like threw me for a loop because like, I didn't expect the Resident Evil to come so quickly, especially like a new one in a franchise where they just remastered 2 of their like best games in the series.
Yeah.
So seeing that and like I think that one looked pretty good. Definitely strange.
Resident Evil is a franchise that I definitely want to get into at some point with Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake. I've never played a Resident Evil game, so this didn't speak to me too much, but I'm sure, again, this is a franchise that a ton of people are going to be excited about, and definitely something that I want to check out because it looks cool, it looks fun. So, and it's a direct continuation of Resident Evil 7. So,
oh wow,
that's with the same player character. I think his name is Ethan. So,
okay, that's actually really interesting. I know. Like I know Resident Evil ends a certain way, and then like there's an alternate ending. So I'm interested to see what this carries over. I played Resident Evil 5, which at that point had just become like an action franchise. But then again, I think I might have been like 13 or 12, so I was scared shitless. I didn't have fun with it, but after seeing the walkthroughs for Resident Evil 2 and 3, it's definitely a franchise I want to go back and play. Because especially now with those remasters, it looks like quite the franchise to get into at this point.
Yeah, for sure. And then there was 2 games to wrap up the conference. One of which was that game Pragmata from Capcom, which comes out in 2022, which is maybe right now the most notable thing to talk about that game is that they showed a game that is not a near future release. So they are showing that they've invested into games that they're already curating that are going to come a while down the road.
They definitely have a lot of confidence.
Yeah. It looked very sci-fi, very interesting.
Was that the one with like the guy in like that white suit?
Yeah.
Like in New York City. Yeah, that one actually looked really interesting. Definitely gave me some Dead Space vibes for sure.
A little bit, and you know what? It's actually interesting you say that because I had seen on Twitter before the event that the writer of Dead Space had said that the game he was currently working on was going to be at the event. So maybe this is it because it does have some Dead Space
like
vibes.
Just the suit design, like with the helmet, it definitely has that feel. So so that's a down the road kind of situation, but it jumped at me for a closing game. So we'll see.
Mikey, were you going to say something?
No. Nothing.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And then the last game they showed, which is I think the game that of anything everybody knew was going to be there. I don't think this game is any surprise, but it was still a cool showstopper at the end nonetheless. Horizon.
Uncharted 5. Oh, that's awkward. Oops.
That would be a dream come true for good old Mickey if it was.
That would be a wet dream and a half for myself.
Yeah. But no, Horizon Forbidden West, which Horizon Zero Dawn is a great game. One of PS4's best exclusives, I think. Exciting to see. Again, this trailer didn't show much gameplay. It just kind of showed the story that Aloy is traveling to the western part of the country. You could see the Golden Gate Bridge overtaken by shrubbery and stuff. So it's taking place in like the West Coast. Some non-dinosaur robots, which is cool. They showed robots like crocodiles and elephants and stuff.
The mammoths one actually, like that one shocked me.
Mammoth.
And like I think Basil mentioned, he's like, oh yeah, that's gonna take about 2 days for me to beat. That's fine. I'm like, oh okay, cool, nice.
Yeah. So
I didn't realize it was Horizon at first because like they showed like the crab and like all the like scenery.
Yeah.
Like, what game is this? I mean, it looked fantastic. So like it wasn't I was opposed to know what it was, but when it finally like showed that it was like Horizon 2. I was like, okay, well, this makes sense. It makes sense.
And correct me if I'm wrong, because I played through Horizon once when it came out and haven't gone back to it. Did in Zero Dawn, was there actual animals?
I want to say, I want to say there is, but I can't recall like off the top of my head.
Because I wasn't sure if the reason they were showing like those hermit crabs at the start was that it was a big deal that like actual living breathing animals that aren't
Actually, no. Now that I think about it, there were, I think there were birds, but outside of that, there was no like actual living creatures that weren't like mechanical.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually a really good. That's actually a big revelation. It's like, we have actual like animals living off the land. So that's cool.
The graphics look. If you would have told me this was a PlayStation 6 game, I would have believed you.
Yeah, I am shocked that
real.
this is a PS5 game, and on top of that, like, it's hard to not rave about a game's graphics, especially like when they look so good. But I mean, the things that stuck out to me the most were like the water physics, and when she was moving underwater, the way the grass breathed with the air, and the footprints on the grass. It's just, for me, it's the little things that excite me. So seeing all that really, like, I've been sold on it since I knew there would be a sequel. So if I had not gotten a trailer, whenever they were like, "Oh, well, here you go, it's dropped," I'm like, "Okay, I'm there for it. It's fine."
Yeah. So that
that
I think wraps up all the games they showed. So
the biggest thing, really, obviously, when you have so many games, the biggest thing everyone was looking forward to, at least without knowing, would be if they would unveil the console. And we already had the specs for it, so it's not like it was too shocking. But I pulled it up here on my Safari.
yeah.
And so this is what that bad boy looks like.
Yeah.
I'm definitely there for the color and the design. Biggest thing is, obviously, there's a disc version and a digital version. I personally been buying my games digitally for the last 2 years, 3 years. So I'm going with the more sleek and sexy looking design. Not to say that the disc one looks bad. It just it looks a little bit more bottom heavy than I would like. So we have that. We don't have a release date yet, obviously. Holiday 2020.
That'll come with time.
That'll come with time. The biggest thing for me, obviously, SSD. I've been hearing a lot of good things about this SSD. Someone mentioned to me that it's better than most PC SSDs, which is shocking because a good SSD for a PC could run you between 500 to 1,000, depending on what you're buying and the brand. So yeah, I'm there for that. I really like this design. All white, really. Like, I won't need another console look. If they come with like a black one, or maybe like a limited edition like game one, I would consider it. But for the time being, I'm good with the white. I like the blue. It looks very futuristic. Definitely heading into the next wave of our lives with this this console. So I'm there for that.
Definitely. Michael, what were your takes on the console when you first saw it?
So when I first saw the one with the disc, I was like, it looks a little weird, like a little asymmetric.
It's a little wonky.
Yeah, a little asymmetrical is a good way to put it.
Yeah, but then when they showed the digital version, I was like, oh, that's definitely the one I'm getting. And like Matt said, I've been game sharing with my brother.
Yeah.
So it makes more sense for me to get the digital version, and I think it actually.
And better. It sucks to say that like disc in general is going out of, I wouldn't say out of business, but it's definitely been on the decline for the last few years. GameStop has had to close a bunch of stores in my area, and it's sad to see, but with the convenience and the accessibility to have a digital game, it's much more beneficial for me. So, if it's a little bit more expensive, that remains to be seen, because I'd imagine there will be a slight price difference between the disc and the digital version.
If I had to guess, I would honestly say that the digital edition is going to be cheaper because it's less components you have to put into the console itself.
Yeah, I was, and the other thing I was thinking is that disc one is gonna come with the 4K Ultra Blu-ray player, so
right,
that's another factor that they have to consider. And it requires a bit more than a digital version would. So, you know, I've been dying to have a PlayStation with a 4K Ultra Blu-ray player, and now that I have a chance to, there's a digital version. So I'm really caught between a rock and hard place for this one.
Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say though that the digital edition will be the cheaper of the two.
Yeah, and Michael, here you have your opportunity to finally get a good working pair of headsets. So that's good for you. I'm glad.
And they have to invest in that.
So I want to hear, like, were you excited when they first unveiled it? Did you kind of were 50-50 on the design, or like where do you guys stand after having time to digest it for a little bit?
I mean,
Either one of you.
I was excited to see it just in the first place, and then I said when I first saw the regular one, I was like, it's nice but looks a little weird. But then when they showed the digital one, I was all for it. I really like it.
And do you like the white, or would you prefer a different color?
I mean, I think an all black one would be cool, but I'm honestly a big fan of the white on black. I think it's a cool look.
Yeah, and especially like between the white and then the black in the center, and then that blue light protruding through the fans, I think that's a chef's kiss right there, baby.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Yeah, I would say I'm a fan as well. I was a little more 50-50 on it when I first saw it, but I was also 50-50 on the controller when I first saw it.
Mm-hmm.
But the more I think of it, the more I'm like, you know what? I really like the large departure they took from what we've come to expect the PlayStation console to look like, which is just a plain black box of some variety.
Or with the PS4 Pro being a freaking McDonald's quarter deck.
Yeah.
Quarter pounder burger.
So I definitely am a big I'm growing more and more warm towards the design of what the console looks like.
And obviously, like it definitely sets itself apart with its height and sleekness, its edges.
It's big. This thing is big. I saw a picture comparing it to the Xbox Series X, and it's taller than the Xbox Series X. And that
mini fridge holds no candle or torch to my PS5 here.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, everything about this event really, like, it went perfectly in its own respect. They came out the gate showing us what we expected to see. I did like that at the beginning they had that little retrospective, going through their history of games, their history of their consoles. They had people from their company and other game companies talking how much they love working with Sony and, making games for this company. So I think after having time to sit on it, they really nailed the conference and their little event for the unveiling. Obviously, we got a lot of games, quite a few that are still a little bit away, but there's nothing wrong with that. And I think the best thing about this is that, from what I heard, this comes with multiple fans instead of just the one on the PS4.
That's good.
It's definitely needed because after playing games for a few hours on my PS4 Pro, I feel like I'm baking in an oven. It's a little bit much for my liking.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
all right.
That's the PlayStation 5 event. I think we covered pretty much anything or everything. If no one's seen it, and if you haven't seen it, well, you know where the internet is. You can find it. You know where we are. You know our channel. You know our names. We're all there for you. But yeah. So I'm glad we kind of broke that down. There was a few games that I didn't really know about or too much about, so I'm glad you had the notes to heighten my senses. Which is
good tie-in.
The douche.
Yeah, this was fun. This was a good.
It was a good conversation. The last thing I want to talk about, because obviously it's coming within the next 6 to 5 days, is The Last of Us Part 2. The reviews have been touting it as a big achievement in game history, so I'm eager to see how that plays out. I think on Metacritic it has like a 96 or a 97, which is almost perfect rating for a game. I was always sold on The Last of Us 2. I know, you liked the first one, but you were a little split on which one you would get, like, on opening day.
Yeah. So, and we'll keep this brief because we could definitely have more of a review discussion on here in a couple weeks after we've played it and beat it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've I like The Last of Us. I wouldn't say that I love The Last of Us, the original game. But I I was, like you said, a little torn, a little unsure if I was going to get this game day one, if I was going to maybe wait till like something like Ghost of Tsushima and get that on day one instead. But this is the first time in recent memory, or maybe not even recent, maybe in a long time for me, that the reviews for a game so completely sold me on getting it that today, like right before we got on this call to record this video, I actually went and pre-ordered Last of Us, and I already have it downloading on my console so that it unlocks on Friday. But
There's
I'm
no better feeling than that.
for it after these reviews. We'll definitely have more of a breakdown of a discussion after we play it, because I think the gameplay is going to be what it is, and it's going to be, it looks like an evolution, but not a groundbreaking evolution of what The Last of Us's gameplay is. It seems like it retains a lot of the same mechanics and a lot of the same systems, just all brought to the next level. But the story, I think, is going to be what really sets this game apart. So we will see in a couple of weeks if that holds true.
Yeah. So I mean that pretty much covers all the basics. If you're excited for the PS5 or you hate it, just let us know. We might take it into consideration, let you know how we feel about that. But I mean, for the most part, like it's hard to hate something that we haven't actually had our hands on yet, and B, like we need to see more of. So, I'm excited for it. I think we all are in the same agreement that we are. So, no price point yet, no release date yet, but at least we have our first look, and we know what games we're working with. So that's basically all you can hope for, really. And
Cool.
yeah, so thanks for if you are watching this, or if you're not, just sharing it with friends, that's fine too. But I'm glad that you joined us on this little discussion. We had a lot of fun doing it for you guys.
Yep.
I'm glad to finally introduce the other faces of TND. He's the N, and Mikey can be something in between there, I guess. So yeah, thanks for joining us, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Sure.